Hey, I'm Jeff Reber with ERA Heavener Realty, and I'm here today with Shannon Beckham. And Shannon is a parent of a boy and a girl, I think one of which attends a Duval County public school, and then one, is it a charter school or what's?
I have one at our neighborhood public school and one's at a magnet school, but
Magnet
both
school.
are Duval
Bingo.
County public schools.
There we go. And so Shannon, parent of kids in the Duval County public school system and formerly a teacher, is that right, Shannon?
Yep.
And then we stumbled across each other, across paths through a mutual friend who, in regards to the referendum that's upcoming on the ballot in November, said, you need to talk to Shannon about this. She's really well informed. She doesn't necessarily have a dog in the fight in that she doesn't work for the school board. She's just a concerned parent, but stays in touch and in tune with everything that goes on. So I had questions about it. And so I was directed to Shannon to talk about it. And so that's where we are. So what did I miss there as far as intro goes here, Shannon? Tell us who you are.
I think you covered pretty much all of it.
Okay.
I'm a mom who lives in Jacksonville. I have a middle schooler and an elementary school student. Yep. And like I mentioned, they both attend Duval County Public Schools. That's right. Many lifetimes ago, before they came along, I was a teacher in Duval County Public Schools. Okay. And right now I do a lot of volunteering. So I spend not a lot of time in the schools right now because of COVID, but in previous years, I've spent a lot of time volunteering in classrooms and raising money for the schools through the PTA. So I've seen a lot of what's going on inside the schools.
Cool. So give us the brief highlights for what this referendum is. What's it called? What's it going to look like on a ballot, roughly? And just a quick general overview, and then I'll have some specific questions about it.
Sure. So on November 3rd, you will be voting on the half-cent sales tax referendum for Duval County Public Schools. What it proposes is a half-cent sales tax, and the money raised goes to capital improvements for our schools. So that's like security upgrades, new roofs, AC. It also goes to build some new schools. People may not know this, but Duval County Public Schools has some of the oldest schools in the entire state of Florida. In fact, the average age of our schools is 44 years old, and that's an average.
And when we say schools, we don't just mean high schools, we mean across the board, right? Elementary, middle, and high schools. The buildings, on average, are as old as they get in the state of Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, one of the oldest schools in our county, Annie R. Morgan Elementary School, I taught at years ago, okay. And it's over 100 years old. So that just gives you an idea of, in terms of, type of repairs that the county's been trying to keep up with.
Sure.
You can only put a Band-Aid on the problem for so long. So
and how, speak to a little bit how other counties keep schools up to date with renovations and improvements and repairs and that sort of thing. And how does Duval County differ in some ways?
So all the counties in Florida have a millage tax, which is a property tax, and a portion of it goes to the schools. However, many other counties have either impact fees, which is the money you pay if you build a new home.
Like St. Johns County.
St. Johns County is a perfect example. So yep. If you build a house in St. Johns County, a portion of your impact fees goes to build a new school. And then a lot of other counties also have a sales tax, which St. Johns County also has. They actually passed it back in 2015 and started collecting on it in 2016. So they're 4.5, 5 years ahead of us in terms of collecting that additional revenue to go to the schools.
Okay, cool. And so let's talk a little bit about like the elephant in the room. Nobody likes more taxes, right? But for a good reason, it makes sense in situations. So how do we know that this half-cent sales tax that has a start point and an end point, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't just continue on in perpetuity or doesn't get used on what it's supposed to be used on? What are the catches there? What's the fencing for making sure that it does what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, so it's a 15-year half-cent sales tax, so it's got a term life, and then there is a citizens oversight committee that's being formed, and that committee's sole purpose will be to oversee the funding and to ensure it's being used properly. And in order to be on that committee, you cannot be an employee from Duval County Public Schools in any capacity. And you also can't benefit financially from any of the projects. So you can't be, you know, a contractor who's bidding on one of the, you know, improvements.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that, I mean, that's one of the ways that they're going to, you know, have some oversight over how the money is spent. A couple of questions that kind of have come up is the money being used to rename schools? There were 6 schools that were voted to go through the renaming process. The answer to that is no.
Okay.
Absolutely, that money is absolutely not being used. That the money to rename schools is actually being fundraised privately through the Jacksonville Public Education Fund. So it has absolutely nothing to do with the tax referendum.
Okay.
And then another question people ask about is the lottery. What happened to the lottery money that we were supposed to get? The lottery money is less than 1% of our total budget, and the majority of it goes to fund Bright Future scholars. So if you're a high school senior and you get that Bright Future scholarship from the state, the majority of the money to fund that comes from the lottery. So the school actually gets very little money from the lottery to make the improvements we need to our buildings.
Got it. And what's the, refresh my memory, the website that goes into detail on everything that's going on with it? What's the URL for that?
It's ourduvalschools.org. And they have the plans for, you know, basically a 15-year plan on how the money is going to be spent, where the neediest schools are that will be improved on first, what schools are going to be replaced. There's a list of schools that are slated for brand new buildings. So it's got a ton of information on there if you have any other questions about the referendum.
And so that's all good. What are we anticipating the outcome to be? And from my perspective, it's healthy schools mean healthy and improving students, mean a thriving society, mean a thriving real estate market. It's win for everybody when it goes according to plan. So from your perspective, how do you see that?
I see it as, you know, increased capital improvements, meaning when the air goes out at my children's school in August and it's, you know, 102 degrees outside.
The surface of the sun, yes.
Yeah, and in buildings where the windows don't necessarily open, or for security reasons, we're not allowed to open them, that it gets not just fixed for the day, but they potentially get a whole new HVAC system with improved circulation and filtering. And it means increased technology, wiring the schools for, you know, to stay ahead of the game and not just play catch up in terms of our technology. You know, it means increased security, more security cameras, better fencing, better security coming in the door and being able to have, you know, multiple doors to let people in so that you don't just have open campuses. I mean, that's what I see it as for my kids and what I see the improvements coming down the line.
And I'm probably out kicking my coverage on theory here and how it applies, but I remember reading in years gone by this theory called the broken window theory. And essentially it was that in a neighborhood, pick your neighborhood, where there are broken windows or unkemptness, people think that it's okay to commit crimes simply because it looks like crimes have been committed here. And there's something to taking care of your surroundings so that you know you need to be moving forward, working hard, doing well. That's not to say just because you're in a nice building that you all of a sudden become a better student, but with time, yeah, you start to get the feeling as a student, if things aren't being taken care of, then people must not care, right? So just from some aspect, I think it improves the overall mood of the school and attitude of the student specifically when these projects take place and are attended to for what
Absolutely.
That's worth. Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just going to say, and people want to be proud of their school. I mean, they want to be proud of their alma mater as they move on. When you think about, you know, college football and how people are diehard fans, it's because they're proud that they went to that school, and it should be the same, you know, elementary, middle, high school. You should feel proud and a sense of strong community to where you know,
Went to school.
went to school and were a
Yeah.
student.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, any kind of final thoughts on this? Otherwise, I'll let you get back to your Monday morning here. But yeah, anything else that you think is relevant that you would like to share that people should know about as they're walking in and voting yes or no on this?
I would just encourage everybody to vote yes for the referendum, that you are in favor of supporting our schools. And if you're watching this and you have a student in Duval County schools, you're aware of, you know, some of the deficits the buildings face right now, reach out to your neighbors, to your family, to friends who may not have kids who are in Duval County Public Schools. They might be in a private school, or they might not have children, and they just don't even know it's on the ballot right now. There's a lot of push to really educate people about the fact that it's on the ballot, and that we need, you know, a lot of people to vote for it.
Well, this is the time in the interview, Shannon, where I normally say, if you want people to follow up with you, how would you like for them to do so? You may not want people to follow up with you, though. But
if you have questions, I would recommend that you visit ourduvalschools.org.
There you go.
And there's even a contact me section. So if you have questions that weren't maybe answered in this video, or want additional information, if you want to schedule a speaker from the school board to come out and, you know, talk to your organizations, that there's a form for that on there. There's a lot of people that are much more experts. I'm a parent giving you a parent perspective on what I want, what's best for my children.
Right. But I think it's a great perspective. And yeah, smart not to give your phone number out just in case all of a sudden you end up as the ourduvalschools.org hotline in some weird scenario. So no, this has been good and answered a ton of questions for me. And so it's good to be an informed voter. I thank you for your time. And with that, I will leave my phone number, because if you have questions about it, or you want to buy a house, sell a house, rent a house, give me a shout. 904-405-1995. Hope you all have a great week. Take care.